Live tonight on American Zombie, plugging back into the Matrix. Every day we have to plug back into the Matrix somehow, some way. Whenever we deal with people in society, we're plugging back into the Matrix. The amazing thing is that the Matrix movie was where you sat in a chair and you got plugged in. This is where we actually can plug in just with a thought. So all we have to do is start thinking about something within the matrix, and we're there. We're there. You see how immediately you're transported. You have already been plugged in. It's like we're always plugged in. It's just a matter of switching thoughts that keep us in the matrix or pull us out of it. So to think about that, to say, okay, an Agent Smith could be in a way where we have to secretly avoid Agent Smiths and Jones and Browns throughout society by playing the role as if we're just an ordinary character in the Matrix. If they suspect anything, interrogation follows. You know, a lot of people don't see that the whole driver's license and identification bit, which makes sense to an extent, but it can be used to basically harass people. It can be used to terrorize a person. I mean, these cards that can be replicated, you know, the average person can't replicate them. But when we look at the fact that we live in a system of fingerprints that doesn't try to go forward into a system of morality, it's basically fingerprint morality. Psychology, again, starting to teach children when they're younger stuff that matters is where it begins. So to think about creating curriculums and stuff like that is extremely important, extremely important. To plug back into this matrix is something that is required. Regardless we like it or not, you got to plug back in. There's just, it's going to happen. You're not going to be able to avoid it because daily work. So plug back in, like the thumbnail suggests, is to say, yeah, when we say you're doing some work, like when I was in the military, you couldn't say, "What's up, MAGA Mike?" Yeah, man. Always trying to keep the topics interesting, which in the military, you got to plug in. You cannot mess around in formation. First sergeant around, unless you know them on a personal basis. But usually, you know, I was in a unit that would just, they would end up frying people, you know. And I had an uncle that worked for JAG, and he used to tell me that JAG, man, they would railroad some of the guys. And guys in the military would tell me the same thing. They would say, yeah, JAG, it just, that's the legal part of the military, the UCMJ. And you would think that they would protect their people, but I even knew MPs that you know, they were traumatized by arresting their own men. To see the draconian punishments that are not only put on military men but throughout society, it makes you think, where does the peace and love fit into this? It's always some type of war. It's always something to rile people up. Hey, those people, we got to you know, they dehumanize people. That's the word, you know, dehumanize, because they'll try to take away the humanity. They'll, you know, and that's what they have to do to get people to go over there and literally pick up arms. You know, not even pick up arms. The people over there have to pick up arms because people are coming into their countries. And you think about the level of 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 just cognitive dissonance, man. It's crazy. Mark, good to see you, man. Oh, I got the British. Yeah, even if you speak about any right-leaning politics, they punish you. They don't like awakened people. Anything. Well, it's not the fact that you're leaning toward a right, even if you lean toward a left. It's basically, it goes down to not following what they're telling you, not being a total automaton. And what do they tell you when you're in basic training? The first thing, don't think. Anytime you mess up, they tell you, we told you not to think. And if it weren't for a rebellious nature, I know it had to affect me somehow on a subconscious level, some ways in a good way, for focus and stuff. But I would think that I had focus before I went in there. You know, the military does hone people into basically trying to turn them into natural born killers. And some of us just were trained, we fit the mold a little better than others. Some people just don't have that in them to do it. And that's okay, because they're the ones that they will have, you know, bringing the ammunition and stuff like that. Others take to it a little better. And some they've seen with the Vietnam and other instances, like killing a little too much. They like the situation. You know, Platoon, the movie Platoon. I mean, when you saw that, what happened in that movie, if it was based on actual accounts, where I've spoken with vets that, you know, have been through a lot of stuff, Vietnam veterans, that, you know, you don't have anywhere to go almost if you put in your all like that, especially the way they train you to put in your all. But as far as going back into the matrix, like being plugged in, like this picture kind of suggests, to say, hey, you know what, you're back in the chair, you got to fight, you're going back in there, and at least you're not in the pod. That's the thing. At least you're not in this situation. At least you've come out of the pod. You said, you know what? Okay, I was totally in the pod. I was deep in the pod. But now that I came out of the pod, now when I go back in, I know where I'm going in from. I don't believe that I was born into the matrix. It was, you know, a prison that you can't see. You can't feel it. You can't hear it or touch it or smell it. You think it is reality. And we've seen over and over that what we see to be reality is constantly expanding. This is what they don't want people to think about. When I was a kid, I remember loving to see all the fruits and vegetables, and I would name them orange and apples and lemons and limes and peaches and pears. And I thought, after I had named the variety that was in the supermarkets and what I've heard about, mangoes and stuff like that, coconuts, you would think that's all there is. Until who finds those new ones? You know, oh, there's a different, you know, there's many different types of coconuts, many different types of papaya and pineapple. And the whole thing is to stay on that cutting edge, that learning edge, to say, I want to know. I want to know. You know, war, when you think about it, um, yeah, yeah, you're right. And I remember those songs, Jody's Got Your Girl and Gone. I remember that, just trying to get people mad, trying to, you know, when you think of the cannon fodder level of just gutter stuff that we were in to be an enlisted man in basic training, you know, maybe an officer, yeah, you're definitely up more. But still, they sent cherry lieutenants out there in the middle of Nam, you know, stuff like that happened too. But to be an enlisted man was just, it's brutal when you think about it in some instances. It's like, why would anybody do that except to escape poverty? Or if they're hyped up a lot, let's just see, if they're hyped up a lot, right? Like, who was the guy? Pat Tillman. And it's so sad because he was the All-American, right? He was the All-American. Now this guy's All-American, right? Multi-million dollar, you know, football player. This is the Chad. This is the guy. This is what patriotism. When people tell me about patriotism, I remind them of the Pat Tillman story, the American patriot who was, you know, it's really sad. They're saying here that he was promoted after his death. He enlisted as a specialist E4. That's usually they don't let people do that. The highest you'll get is an E3, even with college. I mean, if you got college, I would say, why not even go in as an officer, right? Serving in the elite 75th Ranger Regiment before his tragic friendly fire ending. You know, it's so sad. It's so sad. You know, I think they upgraded him from Spec 4 to Corporal after. I mean, that's just, I mean, what do you tell parents, you know? What do you tell parents? I mean, Pat Tillman, you know, so he was a specialist when they offed him basically, and then put him into corporal. Corporal is basically, we know, but for guys who don't know, it's the authoritative role of E4. E5, of course, is Buck Sergeant. Pat Tillman, you know, Pat Tillman, yeah, he was awakened, man. They didn't want, yeah, they offed him because you know what, too? He had too much of a voice. If he would have started speaking out and going back, oh, it could have been some Vietnam veteran protest type of stuff. But you know, they learn. They learn. You know, Pat Tillman, the fact that he gave up NFL, I mean, the fact that nobody is aware of that you have so many patriots right now shows us the level of zombie apocalypse of the mentally afflicted. I mean, anybody can point to Pat Tillman and say, "Do you want to know what being a patriot gets you? Let me show you. Let me show you what being a patriot gets you. Let me introduce you to the Pat Tillman story." And it goes in line with the zombie thing, the zombie movie I made. I'll play it real quick.
The zombie spectrum contains 8 main categories, all of which are meant to control the mind of someone who is unaware. Today, we'll focus on the 7th category, which is politics. Only those who can see through the illusion will notice how politicians transform while speaking to other zombies. But most of the time, they'll be able to contain it and regain their composure without losing support from their zombies. This type of behavior can be seen taking place on both sides. Whether it's red or blue, the zombie always slips out.
Ask not what America will do for you.
The population of voters don't care because they're just as zombified as the creature they worship that lurks behind the podium. Once it regains composure, it's business as usual, and the parade continues to drain the intelligence of anyone who believes them.
Which we bring to this endeavor. We'll light our country and all who serve.
Then, the political zombies will search to infect others that still have the ability to think, but logic and reason will make them retreat. This forces them to break character and reveal themselves for what they really are. This type of behavior can be traced back in part to the 5th category in the zombie spectrum, school, where students are forced to sit and listen until they become zombified by the teacher. And if we interview the parents, one may realize that they themselves are zombies in disguise. They can play the role, but if you're a survivor...
You see the parents being zombies in disguise there. You know, that's something that we have to take into consideration. You got to remember, MAGA Mike, that the political crap, right? So when you say political crap, and then you say this stuff is only true for leftist people due to them ignoring facts, you know that the rightists ignore facts too, right? That's all I'm saying, is that when we start to fall into the false sense of thinking one side is actually better than the other, we see something that sometimes people don't like to look at. That both sides, it's like I said before, both sides, the right wing and the left wing, are different sides of the same asylum. The Oval Office is right there in the center. I mean, when you really look at the behavior of any type of presidential figure, vice, cabinet, anybody in there, it's highly immature. It's that of a homicidal maniac, a child with with the finger on a nuclear device. You better listen to me or else. If this country that they don't like doesn't listen to them, they're going to send people over there to get ended. The average citizen's child. How can you not see through that? You know, how can you not see through the fact that they will send somebody else's kid to do something horrible? War is horrible, right? What excuse, you know, when I think about it, what excuse could a country have to go to war besides protecting itself from invasion? And if you're protecting yourself from invasion, you're not really going to war because you're on the defense. The other people are the ones declaring war. You're just defending yourself. Therefore, there is no good reason to go to war that I see. I mean, if somebody is not attacking you, it's self-explanatory. But when you have a propaganda machine, when you have people that are patriotic, the Pat Tillman illusion, you know, it's so sad that people look at that and, you know, well, you can't tell somebody, what do you tell them? They believe in the country. They believe when that is broken, who knows what that person will do? Because a lot of people haven't been taught how to govern themselves. They've been taught to be a zombie, a minion of the state, Agent Smith. They've been taught walking portals for Agent Smith. That's basically what the average person is, walking portals. You know, and there is no vote, MAGA Mike. There's no vote, bro. We voted for no new wars to avoid the Pat Tillman. Your vote, it's like your vote does not do anything, in my opinion. The leftists, always blaming the other side, right? You know, the leftists are you. They are the right too. It's the other side of the asylum. It's like, hey, I'd like to place a call to the other side of the political asylum. And that's basically calling over to the Democrats. Democrats call back over. Right now, the asylum is being run by the Republicans right now. So if people look at it in that way, now it starts to become more realistic. Oh, the asylum. Oh, the nut house, basically, is what some people might call it in slang. So the psychiatric hospital that is masquerading as a political cabinet, that psychiatric hospital, basically, that's what we're listening to. Now, it's okay to be honest, because if we're honest, now things start to make sense. You start to say, oh, I'm listening to people that are unreasonable. So when they come up with unreasonable answers to something that could be solved with a simple solution, I know why. Because they're basically part of the asylum. They're part of the asylum. So when you look at it, like if you called up somewhere and a person was getting an attitude with you, acting kind of crazy, say you called up to get maybe to find out if there was inventory in a store of an item you wanted. So you call it up. Hey, how you doing? I was going to pick this product up. I just wanted to see if you had it in stock. And the person starts saying some really loony bin type of stuff, just off the handle. You know, who do you think you're calling? You know, this, and you wait a minute, I just called to see if you guys had something in stock. And then you realized you called the mental asylum. by accident. Now it explains the person's behavior. Oh, okay. That's why they were acting that way. I thought I was talking to somebody at the store for inventory, but I happened to call the psychiatric ward. Okay, let me redial, right? Now you might redial and call the store and find somebody with that same type of behavior. And what does that tell you? Well, not totally, but it tells you, it gives you a hint towards, wow, people are in society exhibiting asylum type behavior, psychiatric hospital type of mental behavior. You look at politics, you look at religion, you start to say, wow, people in high positions are exhibiting the behavior that is coming from someone in a straitjacket on the fifth floor of a psych ward, basically. So this is you see into when I see interviews with political opponents, it reminds me of Charles Manson interviews. It really does. MAGA says, if voting is fake, why would they let us do it? Because it tells them how many people still believe in the illusion. And if they know, numbers are very important. If they know how many people still believe in the illusion, they know that those people, they don't have to worry about them taking up arms. The way they combat those people is not directly with arms. They combat them with distractions. Remember, the enemy doesn't have to defeat you straight out. All the enemy has to do is distract you. And these distractions of, hey, just wait. Think about it. Just wait 4 more years. So that's crazy. That's crazy. So if this person does something, what, you can't do nothing within 4 years? And if you do, who do you get? Their vice president? It's like Trump and Trump light. I mean, or every vice. The only vice presidents, when you look at them, you could see it was like some type of predator, like I mean, straight, just creepy type predator, like Dick Cheney. You could see him lurking behind George Bush, just straight lurking. Same thing with George Bush when he was lurking right next to Ronald Reagan. I mean, he was the one in command, but they needed to sell it with Reagan. They said, you know what? Let's put this movie actor here. Let's put this movie actor here. I mean, the fact that you had a movie actor, think about that, MAGA Mike. Think about that. The fact that there was a movie actor, you don't find that kind of odd? The fact that people didn't, this to show you how basically brain rot didn't just happen with the internet. The fact that Reagan could be president and be an actor. It's sort of like you got a guy that just got convicted of bank robbery and he stole $100 million from a bank and they got the money back. So, okay, we got the money back. He told us where to get it. So for some magical reason, the guy doesn't get in trouble. And the president, the new president says, okay, I'm naming people for positions in my cabinet. And they name this guy the treasurer. You'd say, well, wait, this guy was, he had stole, a lot of money. No, he's cool. He's cool. That's like putting an actor, this guy fakes positions, right? Like he can act. You'll never know when he's telling the truth. The actors are extremely skilled people. I mean, you have some natural actors. I had an ex-girlfriend, straight Academy Award actress. I mean, she act her way out of anything, had me believe in something. And I'm like, okay. Now, you start to become wiser. What's that saying? You either live and learn or die a dope. So I had to start being able I had to become a detective, straight go up to inspector grade level, inspector grade, looking to analyze people's behavior and see if this person was putting on an act. This is why detectives and certain agents and stuff like that, they have to go through like psychology. when you study people, there's certain cues that people give off. I mean, we are we it really makes you wonder about society. I mean, this is the asylum where everybody can walk around, and then if they act up, then they go to the other asylum. Yeah, and this is the behavior right here. This is beautiful because this is the behavior that shows us. You're saying Trump is different. So, out of everybody, again, reminds me of Scribe with Tupac. Every other rapper can be a person that is producing music that's detrimental, except for Tupac, right? Except for him. So Trump is the Tupac of politics, basically. So Trump, because I'm trying to put this into perspective. You're saying this guy is different than normal Wow. So he's an abnormal politician? Like he's a businessman, an actor. He isn't corrupted. So what do you talk about the felonies that he got? Was that just, I'm sorry? You know what happens if you do that, right, Mike? From the political system like others. That's why we support him. You can't speak for other MAGAs even, because the other people, those other maggots, they will turn on you. We've seen this happen on video. Not all MAGAs. I mean, I don't know if somebody could really accurately, it might just be united in stupidity or something like that. And as stupidity, that's not a bad thing. It's in a stupor, in a daze. A person is amazed. Look up what stupid comes from. The stupor, being dazed, being amazed. When somebody is amazed, they're in a state of almost shock. And again, of course, it's not his fault, man. Those felonies were in an attempt, to stop him from running. Yeah, but he got convicted of them, right? That's the thing. Did he get convicted of them? Because I'm pretty sure we looked into Google, talked about it on the show. Look it up, Mike. Didn't Trump get convicted of all of that? I'm just saying it's kind of double standardish. It's kind of double standardish to me. I'm just stating the obvious, man. I'm just stating the obvious. People look at political opponents as like deities beyond celebrities. It's celebrity worship. So they're scared of him. See, that's the football game. The football game of politics, thinking that the team that wins, to think that the NFL has any say. I think it's a nonprofit organization, the NFL. Let me look that up, because I remember, is it a nonprofit? Okay, so it's not, but it was classified as 501c. So I think that's something to do with, that's kind of sounding a little nonprofitish. These guys, man, I mean, just the fact, the NFL to me is the national brainwashing association, man. It just, you got guys just straight in fantasy island with the football, the baseball, and ball chasers, man. I can't. That's plugging back into the matrix. And I can understand if somebody wants to plug back in. They're like, look, man, I plug back into the matrix. They're going to watch a few guys chase balls around of different various sizes, and then they're going to come back out. And they can have a conversation like this and say, yeah, man, I was watching some people chase balls and stuff, but I'm good now, because we all have to get off that little bit of zombie. It's like when you look at it in that way, it's like, wow, we're going to be zombified until we pass into the next. But can we minimize it? Minimizing it is the key. And part of the key. There's other philosophies, like Bukowski, he's got a good point when he says, you know what? You just you let it, you find what you love and you let it kill you. And that's a tough one. That's a tough one when I think about it. You find what you love and you let it kill you. Charles Bukowski. He was a writer that got successful later in life, but it was brutal. When you look at some of these people that write, remember that's what makes the libraries. That's, I mean, you need libraries, technical libraries, to be able to build the devices that we're speaking on. You know, technological schematics and the ability to decipher them. I mean, this is where when you look at the maintaining of what would be called a technological community, because again, it has nothing to do with civilization. If you're not treating each other with civility, it's not civilization. It's just a technological community. Now, a civilized technological community, yeah, that would be beautiful. That what we see now, we see uncivilized, highly technological communities. Highly. I mean, I don't even know if we can call it a community. They're more like Hollywood stages that we're all just, you know, afraid, really. The news, you know, when Biden said that thing about all of the hiring tens of thousands or something of new agents. I mean, how do you say something like that? I mean, that's some horrible stuff. That's really trying to put fear into people. And to think that somebody who is in that position, why don't they try to ever put love into people or like a good feeling? I'm surprised people don't think about that. Like, why is it that you never hear that on a consistent basis? Like, hey, everybody, you know, this is the president, whatever. You can keep all the stuff that's in the news, Greenland, all of that stuff. But you know what? At the bottom line, I need you guys to love one another. I need you guys to love one another. You know, like there was something he said, and of course, to me, it's still part of the script. He might go off script and hit it when he said something like, when they were talking about Ukraine, and he goes, look, I just want people to stop killing each other. So now, you know, but then you look at it now, if you look at that and then look at the twist that you see now, there's a big difference. I'm not saying he was right back then either. I'm just saying, look at the molding of the political candidate, the president elect, or back then, I think he was the unelected at that point. Now he's the elected again. I mean, this thing is just straight. It's ESPN. It's the political version of ESPN, and people are taking it so seriously. You know, and this is funny. You would love to keep loving people, but when Democrats, holy smokes, bro, you don't think that, you know, the people on the other side of the asylum are doing anything wrong? I mean, you can look up many, just look up, just type into Google. Oh, you know something? I'll do it for you. Republican Republican crimes. Okay. I'll put recent Republican crimes. Okay, based on recent reports. This is hilarious, man. Wow, Donald Trump pops up. So he issued, now isn't this odd? And this is something that I'm surprised when you think about these things with politics, he pardons and commutations in 2025 to 2026. President Trump issued a large volume of pardons for political allies and January 6th rioters. So you look at that, that is some really, so where's the law? Where's the law, basically? Where's the law right there? Then In 2020, the election interference classified documents. So they're talking about Jack Smith, the special counsel. So that's Supreme Court. It's like, wow, this mad stuff. There's a whole January 6th thing going down. Man, this is ridiculous. The fact with all of this stuff, it's like just watching people argue and fight, basically. That's all it is. This is crazy. Bro, you can't say that they're better, bro. They're like the same. Maybe that wing of the asylum is in better shape, but it's still the asylum, man. That's what I'm trying to show you. Oh yeah, you got new floors and stuff over there. You got AC in that part of the asylum. It's comfortable over there. It's comfortable, and it might be. It might be, man. I don't know, man. You trying to? I can't even believe. Wow, wow, bro. It's all right, man. I hooked you up. You can't say that. I tried to like just explain it to you rationally. I do appreciate you supporting the show. But I don't see where the politics, man. I mean, it's like nobody looks at the crimes that some people do. And then when somebody does a crime like that guy, horrible stuff, you see in the news, they harp on the fact that they're a convicted criminal. Well, the president is that now, but you don't see nobody. They'll say, well, it's not that bad of a conviction or something. Now all of a sudden they get into that type of stuff. This type of mental, it's like, it makes you wonder. It's like the asylum is so front and center. It's just, it's almost, it's kind of unbelievable. It's like, no, it's definitely the Bugs Bunny episode with Brody running around, hearing "What's up, Doc" from everybody. I mean, this is some crazy stuff, man. This is some definite. It's waking up out of the matrix. It's straight waking up out of the matrix. Yep, 100% into the culture of immaturity. I have to plug back into the matrix, in and out. It's kind of like, because sitting in the chair, we already know is too cumbersome. That analogy at least gives us an insight to say, okay, this is the way it works. You sit in the chair and now you wake up in the matrix. But in reality, all you got to do is think. You could be talking with somebody and Agent Smith pop up, or even pop out of them, because we've talked about that. So the matrix will come to you, bang, all of a sudden. I've known, guys, and anybody at any place that has an authority figure, work, military, any place, you could go to a concert, the security, that's the authority figure. You go to a store. So when we're walking through the matrix, we look at that and we start to be like, man, this is really amazing. I mean, you have people that are walking through a physical brick and mortar neighborhood, cityscape, urban, suburban cityscape, and then the mental scape within that, of how zombified is that person? How much do they see like they live? Do they have the glasses? What part of the spectrum are they aware in? Like I would say Mike is aware in a lot of different parts, but he's zombified with politics. Politics is eaten deep into him. Like it's definitely ravaged. And politics can do that. The political part of the zombie spectrum affects people in a way that has them acting very irrational. And this is not any type of joke. I'm describing the behavior. This is not an insult or anything demeaning. This is a description of the behavior of people when they get into this type of mental programming that the patriotism or false sense of patriotism puts in them. I mean, look at the January 6th. I mean, people were fighting over on that. I mean, the fact that that basically you can say that that was inciting people to riot, and then he comes into office and frees them. One part of it, just blatantly, it seems to be criminal. The second part of it is it orchestrated? It makes you wonder as you start to think. So you're looking deeper with your vision, but that vision is a mental vision. Thinking deep into the illusion, saying, could it be that deep? Could it be orchestrated on that level? But I see, like Mike, man, I'm surprised that unless you have to be trolling. You have to be trolling. Because I had said it before. Nobody can be that, I mean, yeah, yeah. When I think about it, there are political people that zombie stuff. It's like you're scraping at the door. You're the zombie scraping at the door, trying to get into the mind to say Trump is good. He's going to save us. Don't you believe me? And I'm looking at you like, bro, you are out to lunch on autopilot. The lights are on, but nobody's home, man. I don't know what to really tell you because it's like a wind-up toy that somebody lets go and it walks into the wall, but it keeps walking because it has wind-up power left. You have a lot of wind-up power, but it's because they've wound you up. And I understand. Alexis, what's up, bro? Just when I thought, yeah, I was thinking, yeah, Agent Smith did come out of him. I mean, it's an example. Hopefully, he can look back at it and say, hey, you know what? Wow, it did affect you. You literally think this guy is going to help us now. This is where I don't know if you'll be able to see this, but let's just say the people that are running Trump, that are telling him what to do, that we never get to see the faces of these people. One, you might not think that exists. So if it's that, then you're like really, really in Fantasy Island. But if you can understand that there's people behind the scenes that give this guy orders, and let's just say he did something good. And things start getting better. The economy gets better, things worth more, everything like that. That's still not attributed to him. See, the form of political worship, the political zombie, whether it be on the right or the left, will attribute that to the person in office and immediately forget that there's people behind the scenes that are pulling the strings. They'll, look, Trump did it or Biden did it or whatever. And it's like, and anything but just be like, oh, they're doing this now. Because whatever they're doing it under the face of the person that's sitting in the Oval Office, basically. They're saying, okay, this is what the president is doing today. And it's like a ritual. You see him sitting there at the desk writing something. I mean, in a way, when you think about it, I wonder, it could be a type of like wizardry, like a witchery type of like a spell, because I mean it's all spelling words, writing in cursive. at a desk. I wonder what the etymology for the word desk is. Okay, desk. Let me see. Desk etymology. So it goes back to Italian and then Latin. So it's saying that so a writing table. So that's what a disc. So a platter, discos, yeah, for Greek. Sometimes this stuff is okay, sometimes it ain't. That's why you always got to think. It's one thing about AI I have noticed. I wonder, because just like the phone numbers, people not needing to think about the phone numbers, if AI, and I'm not saying it will or does or anything like that, I'm just speculating that just the way phone numbers, we already know that unless we had to remember them, we don't even know if we really could remember 20 at a time. If we said, you know what, I'm not going to use the quick dial thing, that would be a really good test, because if it gets to where we don't need to think about certain things, now you're deleting certain parts of a thinking process that we have, like currently right now. We don't even know if we're being manipulated into thinking in certain parameters that is making our understanding of things smaller, shrinking it, cordoning it off at certain areas to where we back up and retreat and only think in certain areas. We definitely see that with censorship and other things, authority, and also peer pressure. That's even worse, because then it gets the person to sequester themselves, to say, oh no, we don't think about stuff like that. Like religions and stuff like that will hold a person deep into something like that. Politics too. Politics, forget it. Like how MAGA Mike is just, he's deep on that. And I would hope, I think he's waking up. I think he's kind of waking up. It's just either that or he's just, trolling. But yeah, he definitely, the political, the religious, the schoolhouse evolution zombie, because that's usually the strongest strain of somebody being stuck in a certain mode of thought, is what zombieism would be, is to say, okay, they're thinking that what they were taught in school is 100% correct. I mean, like at the least 99.9, which is just ridiculous. And they repeat the religious mantras with accuracy of any religion. It's like their quotes that a lot of them have been proven to be untrue, especially with this all missing link and stuff, stuff like that, when really looked into. So you say, okay, religion might have a piece of the puzzle, something being created, something like this. And science definitely has the other side. But where that side is, you have a whole bunch of evolution stuff disguised as if it were science. And that's the hard part, to try to decipher and distinguish between those two, because it's always mixing and twirling, and it's definitely a challenge, which is good to some extent. But yeah, the desk, when I look at the whole desk and the writing, it really makes me wonder about the libraries of ancient times that they said were burnt down, like the Library of Alexandria. that they were saying is one of the largest libraries in, the ancient times. And I could imagine when I think about even other ones that they probably had, like writing stuff in stone and leaving it encoded, like we were talking about with the hieroglyphs and stuff like that on the last one. We start to see like, oh, okay, other cultures, they weren't stupid. They knew that, hey, this is something very odd about existence. And then, they were using substances, plant substances, concoctions. I mean, we see it all the way throughout um, pictography, iconography of the witch's cauldron or the shaman boiling some root in a pot to where like the ayahuasca thing, and then they go on that journey, and it makes you wonder. It's like, how did somebody even come to think that up, to know which type of herb or plant or root? And they say that the shamans or the wise people, I think witch means wise woman. They say that the plants told them. They say the plants talk to them. And to think that maybe that means intuition. Maybe it means intuition. Maybe it means something more. But to not acknowledge it or even consider it and study it and look into it is just total ignorance. It's ignoring the fact. And that's something that I'm surprised that people don't look into. The scientific side of something like that. To say, yeah, this is something where it requires a lot of research. I mean, this is life. Plugging back into the matrix is a daily occurrence, on and off. Sometimes we got to take a phone call, we're back into the matrix, plugging back into the matrix. It just sometimes we definitely see it with any type of employment, unless the employment is based on creativity, to where even that, to sell certain artwork and stuff like that, you have to have an agent, stuff like that. I mean, it is it's I mean, when I think about it, it's really it's a challenge for some to be able to be outspoken and be in certain positions. And that's something that I'm surprised people they don't like. The followers of the evolutionists, I would say, it's like, look, the professor has to go along with the whole thing, because if he doesn't or she doesn't, then they're not going to be in that position. What would that look like? They built a museum, a freaking museum. The more I think about it, is the more I realize, like, wait a second, why would you build a museum? And then you realize that's the church. That's the cathedral, actually, the beautiful cathedral. The churches are all of the universities. Salute, Brian. Good to see you, man. Yeah, man. The ancients. Yeah, man. It just I think about it like, man, this is why it's like it feels like a zombie apocalypse, to where we're the few survivors. But in this zombie apocalypse, we have electronic devices where we can talk with one another. We can type and text messages and say, hey, this happened over here, and I can't, it's like people don't care. And people not caring is a sign of it's very important information. I don't think it's easy to overlook how important that information is. Any bit of feedback in this thing, like what seems to be like an experiment that we live in, any type of feedback is scientific to say, okay, this is how they react. This is how, and whether it be other humans, because on a high level of psychology, you can control people easily like that without having to use force, and only have the force backup there in case of anybody that, the errors that slip through the program, the ones that end up thinking for themselves. The majority of people don't do that. And that is something that I think is not taken as serious as it should be. And we all know a lot of people that don't think. They might be cool, good people, everything, but they are portals for Agent Smith, kind of. I mean, we're portals for Agent Smith. If we don't realize that we have the ability, it's kind of like the political stuff and all of these other parts of the spectrum. If we allow that to come into us, then it's like, oh, he became a zombie. We saw it with a few people, Some people were saying, they said Jake went straight religious zombie when he met the chick. Who knows? It's cool. People are going to do what they're going to do. I just look at it as, hey, if you're a happy zombie, what can I really say? You're happy. But is being a zombie really happy? That's the question. I don't know. I wouldn't want to. I'd like to think for myself. It does get lonely in thinking. I mean, I talked to some people and they were like, hey, you're like the only person I know that I can talk to about certain subjects. And I said, yeah, man. I said, there's nobody to really talk to. I said, it's getting smaller. It's getting smaller. I said, as I keep doing research on human origins, I said, it's going really in a direction that is that's kind of Twilight Zone-ish, definitely some outer limits type of stuff. When you look at looking at life in general, anybody that looks at the scientific basis of existence to say, yeah, what is the fabric of existence? It's all of these guys that they try to say with string theory and all of that. It's all theory. It's all what somebody's making up according to a big flaw that bases a lot of its belief, which science is not supposed to be based on belief, but bases its belief on an evolution. And that is so, to see that illusion be believed and say, okay, how is it believed? And that's when I see the planetarium where Neil deGrasse Tyson and Richard Dawkins has the stuff in the UK, Michio Kaku, these are the high priests. These are the cardinals, the bishops, the high bishops. Darwin, definitely the Pope. You got these other guys. You got the cathedral is the museum, and the churches are the universities. Yeah, and they make it up. Yep, make it up as they go along. Thank you, Christopher. Good to see you, bro. Yeah, it just so true. I mean, they put forth this material as if the consciousness or spirit verse doesn't exist, when we know that there's more. There's probably other things that we don't think of right now, that or we're not capable of thinking about, or we just haven't tapped into the ability to think in that direction yet. I mean, the mind is something that sitting and thinking about things is really how else would you exercise the mind? So to prevent people from doing that prevents them from exercising the mind and seeing just how far things can be thought about, how far. And it's funny because just thinking about something is deep, because you start going into you start going into modes of thought saying, hey, Is it possible? Is it probable? Because probable, that's when you get into being able to say, yeah, probability for something to happen by chance is almost, it rises almost to a point of almost impossibility, but that's where the chances of it happening is very, very low, almost to the point where the number is equivalent to zero. So it's like, yeah, that's not going to happen. It's like it just, the chances are extremely low, and for it to happen again and again, it just shows how evolution just doesn't stand up to mathematics. Where mathematics is just, it shows like, yeah, it's not viable. Baffles brain. But yeah, plugged back in. When we have to plug into the matrix, back in the chair. Back in the chair, plugged in, and at least it's not coming out of the pod. Because coming out of the pod, that's a brutal awakening. See, the stages of coming out of the pod and then being able to go back in from knowing you're already in the matrix is a whole different type of thing. We have like a whole, saying, hey, this matrix thing in society, there's different types of matrices. There's different areas in the matrix. Yeah, Library of Alexandria. Yeah, it was one of the largest, man. You think about that, it's like, and I guess the modern version, yeah, the ancient wonder, I guess they're calling it. Library. And that's the thing. So they say that there's no archaeological evidence of the library exists. And there's debate over who caused its end. The Romans, the Christians, the Arabs, all have been accused of its downfall. So when they look into this, it's sort of like, and you would think that this is important, but of course, when you look at some of the other stuff throughout history, it's like, come on, man. It just, his story really makes me wonder. Yeah, I'm just looking through. But yeah, I just wanted to do a quick stream tonight, see what's up. Hour. Let me see. 20. Yeah, tomorrow night. What's that, Thursday? Every night, man. You know what's up, man. Working on the book. I want to get like an hour in to edit, and I'll hop back. Yeah. Tomorrow night, 22nd, around, it's around 10. I'll see what's up. Thanks everybody in the chat. We'll talk tonight. We'll talk tomorrow night. Take care. Have a good night.